Well, hey friends, how is everybody? It has been a minute since I've filmed a video. I'm Andrea. This is Journals for Breakfast. You are so very welcome here, and let's chat for a minute. Let's see, it's the middle of March. No, it's early March. It's still pretty early in March. I was going to work in my yard today, and so I was looking at the weather all week and paying attention to rain forecasts, but not anything else. And so it is in fact sunny today, as the forecast said it would be, which is why I thought I would be in the yard, but it's also freezing. The temperature dropped about 25 degrees in the last 24 hours. And also it is super duper windy, which is not going to be conducive. What I'm doing out there is actually planting some new plants and also digging up and moving some plants, which is not going to be fun in 30-mile-an-hour winds. So the weather has allowed me to have a little time I didn't expect to have, and so I decided to shoot a video. So welcome. I have not been shooting for a little while. I took a little break from social media, kind of a cleanse, and I just was curious for myself what it would feel like, kind of just within my own mind, day to day, if exposure to, for me specifically, YouTube and Instagram were no longer a part of the story for a while. What I'll say is that, one, no denigration against either, or condemnation for use of either. I'm really careful about my Instagram. I really curate my feed. I block anything inappropriate or that I'm not interested in. And so very quickly in building my Journals for Breakfast channel on Instagram, my feed is really just journals, stationery, and content creators that I really enjoy following. So it certainly isn't a place where there's like lots of ads or crazy stuff coming at me. And then also, by the way, I did the same with YouTube. And I'm going to put a little side note in here. If you're a YouTube watcher, and haven't upgraded to commercial free, I just very highly recommend it. I did that, 5 years ago. I mean, when I first really got into watching YouTube content creators, the first thing that I did was figure out, how do I do this without having to watch commercials? And it makes the YouTube experience so much nicer. I'm not a person who loves advertisements anyway. Now, for my own channel, I will tell you that one of the really nice things about having so few followers on YouTube is that you just get hidden away. YouTube isn't trying to make any money off of me. They can't with the number of followers that I have. So I don't think that there's any commercials in this. If they aren't ones that I'm gaining from, by the way, nor will I ever. I think at a certain point, a certain number of subscribers, I know that you can choose to monetize it and add ads to your space. I'll never do that here, just FYI. It's not why I created this space. So, I don't know, rambling. Anyway, I thought I would share with you a couple of things. The break from social has been really nice, and I'm going to keep it up for a while. I did start watching a YouTube content creator this week based on an art project that I've started. And so I'm watching her videos that are specific to that project. So I'll tell you a little bit more about that. But otherwise, I've been completely off of this platform, both in creating content and in taking it in. And I haven't turned on Instagram now in probably 3.5 or 4 weeks. And I just was curious what happens, like I said, to my thought process if that's not a part of my day every day. Does it change? Do I think differently? Am I sort of being led to think in a way that always has me planning out the next post or the next content? I don't know. I just kind of wanted to check it out. And all I can say is what has come over me is a quiet that I haven't had in a long time. And my sleep, I track my sleep on my watch. My sleep is usually fair to good, and it's been good to excellent since I stopped social entirely. And I also have noticed that just projects of my own, it just seems like I'm getting more in smaller bites. I haven't really extended my day, and I wasn't losing hours and hours to screen time daily either. I had a 2-hour limit in 24, and then my phone would shut those apps off. And I haven't hit that 2-hour limit in years, literally. So even if I was going as much as 2 hours a day, I would only get 2 hours a day back if I stopped, but I wasn't anywhere near that. And I still feel like I got hours of time back. I think that space for me and for my mind is just very distracting. And the quiet and the focus without that being a part of the story, all I can say is it's had a positive impact on me. So yeah, I don't know where I'll go with that. If I'll keep that up, if I'll check back in, we'll see what we do. Maybe I'll just put a really tight limit on it, like 15 minutes or something. We'll see. So I found this the other day. I was cleaning up this studio here, and then we're going to do a Hobonichi overhead. I promise. I am absolutely in love with that system. I want to show you the new art project I'm doing. I want to show you a new tarot deck, and then we'll call it a day. I found this the other day. I wrote a mission statement for this podcast back. I think I started this channel a year ago, about a year ago would make sense. So my mission statement is that Journals for Breakfast is a space where I share intentional living practices that healed my intense burnout and continue to recalibrate my central nervous system into alignment, providing peace, calm, and true joy in every day. And that is exactly what I hope to share here. Are the tips and tricks and the practices that I take in daily that truly pulled me out of a almost career-ending burnout. I am more healed with every month that goes by in my life from that starting point, which was about 5 years ago. And the things that I have done to recalibrate that survival mode central nervous system into a thrive mode central nervous system are the things that I share here. And journaling in all of its forms is a big part of that. Non-digital planners are journaling to me. If you put pen to paper at any point during the day, it's some type of journaling. And there's been, I feel like, a kind of a renaissance of the concept of the commonplace journal. If you're here on this channel, you might be very familiar with that already, or maybe you've heard whispers of it. But the commonplace journal is essentially the kind of journaling I've always done long before I understood there was a term for that or a definition. And that is kind of a paper planner where I also would clip stuff out of magazines and pin them onto a page and put in a cute sticker and add some good notes about the weekend, a fun quote, whatever. So I'll show you guys my pocket commonplace so you can see that too. So first of all, let's do an overhead. Let's take a look at Hobonichi and see how it's going. I am so in love with this system. It's incredible. Do you know how sometimes you just find the fit and are just like, this is it. It's just changed my life. So we'll look at that. We'll do a little update on my traveler's passport size pocket brain, such as I call it. That, side note, is a commonplace journal. So I'll show you that. And those new books I mentioned in my last video from Just G Paper Company did come in, and I have at least one of them in that. And so I'll show you those. And let's do a reading from my newest tarot deck. I'll show you some of the artwork on this, but we'll do it in an overhead as well. So let's look at an overhead, and I'm so glad you're here, and it's nice to see you all again. Okay, overhead time. All right, friends, so here is the Hobonichi, and I have slipped a new piece of artwork into the cover. It is a little print that says, "Easily distracted by dogs and books." And it has a little spaniel on it. I have a black and white English Springer Spaniel myself. It's a watercolor, and I will link the shop where I got this on Etsy in this video. And it's just a print. I just slid it in there. I have, let's see, I'm going to pull this pen holder off of here because it traps all this in. I have a Hobonichi cover here, which I'll remember was that linen. I was worried about it. So I got this cover, which is a plastic that goes over your cover, that goes over your Hobonichi. And then I just slid him underneath that plastic when he came in, just to change it up a little. I'm one of those people, I like a new view pretty frequently. And this was a watercolor that I did based on a kind of image that came to me, and then a little collage that I did. I just slide him in here. I use this as a pencil board sometimes, is why that's there. And then remember I had that first little notebook kind of slid in there, and I've just been collecting up fun quotes in that. And then y'all were with me when I built my opening pages, just some fun collage. My word for 2025 is faith, so that's why that keeps showing up in places. And onward and upward we go into the monthlies. I am really using this as I use all paper planner monthlies, which is I just put down the most important thing of that day. So if I have to be somewhere, that's what's there. If I have a class, that's what's there. Now, I'm also going to share that I was talking about this in my journaling class recently. The reason that this simple little square works for me for the way that I set up a month is that part of my burnout cure was really changing my schedule and how many things I allow myself to do in a given day. So the fact is that if I have a class on that day, I won't have anything else. I'm not going to be meeting a friend later. I'm not going to be going out to dinner or a show. If I have a class to teach, it is the only thing I will do on that day. Now, I will also share that I am 53, about to be 54, and this kind of day wouldn't have been a possibility for me earlier in my career. We probably would have taught 2 classes that day. If there was one at noon, there would have been another one at 6. I would have been prepping for some big event going on here. We worked around the clock. Also, in my 30s and 40s, I would have added social into this because I believed that that social time was the way to find balance between work and life. So if I taught a class that day, I should go out with friends that night. That has shifted for me a lot in these last 5 or 6 years while I've really tried to get a grip on how bad the burnout was. And while social time is important, it is also tiring in its own way. I mean, it can be fulfilling and enjoyable, but I just have learned, for me personally, I can't stack it. And I also learned the hard way that I can't put social on my days off all the time. You can do it sometimes, but sometimes I just need a day off, like 100% off. Like I will not need to change clothes or put on makeup or leave the house, right? And even if I've planned just a nice little lunch with somebody on a day off, it's going to require that I do all those things that I just said I don't always want to do on a day off. So I've gotten to a place now, and it's taken me literally years of practice to get to this place where if I have a doctor's appointment at 1:30, that is all that I have that day. If I have an infusion, obviously that's going to take up time. That's all that I have. But notice I don't have a class even the day after something that could be really long or tiring. So this monthly layout in this Hobonichi works for me because there's just so little in any given day. These are Saturdays where I have 2 classes. I have journaling in the morning, and then I do my baking class right behind it at 12 o'clock. But as you can see, there's nothing else there. So I've really enjoyed that. And I haven't done a lot, obviously, decoratively in these pages. March was the first one that I kind of went in and started putting some cute stickers into or whatever. So, and then I just did a layout of April because we're publishing that calendar this week. And so I just needed to kind of see, and I've been trying to include this reset week. I think I told you guys that last time, this kind of reset week where in a perfect setting, I think I would do nothing off-site that week, no classes, excuse me, no doctor's appointments, no nothing. But because of, we only ended up with 4 Saturdays in this month, and I really like to teach classes on Saturdays. If I had taken this out, I would have only gotten 3 Saturday classes in. So I went ahead and put a class at the end of that week, but the rest of that week is going to be a big reset week. So like if I want to meet a friend for lunch, that might happen in the reset week. This is a week that I can focus on those bigger projects that I've mentioned, kind of can build up over the course of a few months at the house. You know, it's those areas that we just can't find time for day to day. And so they tend to build up. Like my garage can just be a catch-all. And then one day we have to go in and sort of resort it. Our Florida room is not, it's just screened in, so weather can impact how that's looking. If there's a lot of rain coming, we move the furniture, we stack the cushions, you know what I mean? And things just get kind of piled up, and then it gets dusty. So it takes a big cleanup and kind of reorganize. So that's what that reset week is about, is sort of those bigger chores at home, or bigger projects. Maybe you have a gardening project or something like that. In time, what would be really nice is to have a reset week that maybe every other or every third was devoted to crafting for the entire week. So we'll see if I can make that happen. So that's what's happening in that. And then these are my weeklies, and this was the very first one that I ever did. And so far, I love it. It's just a brain dump, schmishmash of stickers and to-dos. I'm trying to keep the kind of like put a check next to it and get it done to-do lists in these weekly drop-down pages. And I'm really enjoying that. That's working out well. I've been tracking dinner. I thought that what I was going to do was meal prep. So like write down dinner and what I'm intending. And that is just not flying for me, y'all. I am really flying by the seat of my pants with meals lately. So instead what I'm doing is just tracking it. What did we make? How was it? And then that way I can kind of flip back. In fact, it's funny because the other day I was thinking about doing chili, and I was like, well, when was the last time you did chili? Was that like 5 days ago, or was that 3 weeks ago? So it's kind of nice for that too. So I'm not repeating things. Yeah, so I'm really liking the weeklies. And as you can see, I keep them pretty hot mess. That's my brain. This fills me up. I love looking at this stuff. And what I've been doing is kind of a practice is I have not been messing with this planner in the mornings at all. This has been my evening routine. Once we sit down to settle into a Netflix show or something like that, I pull this out and I'm kind of one eye on the TV and one eye running through checklists and what I've done and what needs to happen. And so most weeks are empty until I get right to them. So like this was last week. This just started getting filled in this week. This is this week. I do like to do this in pencil, by the way, because if something doesn't happen, I can just erase it and move it someplace else. And I haven't used up that space. I could put something else there that I did get done. If that didn't get done, you know, that kind of thing. So yeah, I just filled in as you go. So as you can see, I only have 2 appointments next week, and they're both already in there. And then this kind of stuff will start to appear as I move into that Monday and start to decide what actually I need to get done as the week moves ahead. And I'm really liking that system. There's no pressure. I can move things around if I need to. So yeah, I'm enjoying that quite a bit. And this is definitely the kind of to-dos. So that's what's happening in those. And then we'll flip over to today. I'm still sort of creating the groove for the dailies. Let's flip back a couple. I can't remember the last time I was with you guys. It's been a little while. But as you can see, it's a mishmash of stuff. Good quotes, fun stickers, a little bit of journaling, and also just some to-dos. Some February, what would we like to get done? Yeah, so I've been playing with trying to learn how to do that pretty writing. I'm not great at it. I do like this, kind of do a little bit of highlighter and then a little write over on it for my days. I have figured out, and then I forget it sometimes, I don't like writing the day in black. I'll show you as we hit a few of those. It just doesn't work out great for me. This is the kind of stuff I do when I'm just sitting watching Netflix shows. A little bit of journaling, and then a little bit of washi tape collage. Just some fun. Just have some fun. I guess that Sunday doesn't look so terrible in black, but I just am not adoring the days in black like I did on this week. And so I did get myself this is that brush style pen. I did get one recently in a like kind of a sepia brown color that I like. I needed to start using that more. So yeah, it's just a fun space. Scribble, sketch, stickers, I don't know, brain dump, etc. And I would say that to some degree, this definitely is essentially then a commonplace journal, isn't it? So the commonplace journal, if you actually go look up see that Tuesday in black? I don't love that. I don't know why. If we actually go look up what is a commonplace journal, there is an actual sort of definition of sorts, and it is a collection of hopes, dreams, thoughts, goals, calendar, plans, inspiration, and tidbits from your day, a quote from a conversation, who did you have lunch with, what did you eat, what kind of tea was served, little nuggets from the day, and then also found things, a snip of a piece of fabric from something that you made that day, or a piece of ribbon, or a postage stamp, or something like that. And as I understand from my reading, when I said, I know I kind of commonplace journal, but what is it exactly? Started in essentially the Renaissance. That's as far as I have learned. It starts back in the Renaissance, and really it was something that men and women both did. As it moves forward on the timeline, or ahead on the timeline, and women start to get into these sort of really organized housekeeping setups, picture sort of Gilded Age housekeeping. That's where the women's side of it starts to shift to like really clear homemaking tips and techniques, how to handle this sort of party, how to handle that sort of party, what was served, menus, all of that kind of cool stuff. Anyway, I think it's fun. I think it's a fun concept. The idea is snippets and tidbits and bits about your life. And so there can be some Dear Diary kind of journaling in that. But there also can be just collected bits, things that you just are enjoying looking at or bring you joy to look back on. And I think it's a really approachable type of journaling. I think that a lot of people hear journal and think Dear Diary, and then they remember having bought a journal and attempted to start it, and then it failed to be something they could keep up with daily, and then it felt like pressure, and then it felt like homework, and somewhere in there is a little shame bug kind of chewing away at them, and they've just walked away from journaling entirely. And I say that because as a lifelong journaler, I've heard that from so many people. And while Dear Diary is an important kind of journaling, it is not the only kind. And I do Dear Diary kind of entries some days, but I also don't some days. It's just to-do lists and what I'm open to, and a quote that's just encouraging me, or a really adorable sticker, or some welcoming prayers to say before my classes. So I think, there's various types, and we can embrace all of them or any parts of them that we like. But what I really enjoy about the Hobonichi setup is I think that this is a really easy landing for a commonplace type journaling practice. It gives you room for add-ins like this quotes notebook. It gives you room for real actual planning so you can see what's happening. It gives you room for real to-do lists. This is legit, this needs to happen. It gives you room for Dear Diary, this was a full day and here's how I feel about it and what I want to think about going forward. I also sometimes will come in here and highlight an entry, like here I was just playing with that watercolor on the paper to see how it held it, and just another fun collage. Every once in a while, I will put something in here and put a little T and circle it. It means talk to your therapist about this. So, I mean, it can also be part of your mental wellness for sure in so many ways. I added another little piece of artwork to the back of this, which came from the same Etsy seller, Tiki Designs, and this is the A5, which I think is the smallest size basically she does for most of her things. And then back here, look at this, swan dive into a cup of coffee. If that isn't like me in a nutshell. And so I actually ordered this from the same place, a Tiki Designs, and then it's not wonderful to like put tape over a print, but I'm using this in planners and journals. And so I taped it to this cardstock, right? And that way I can take this out of here. I can just use a X-Acto and cut through that washi tape that I glued it in with. See, it's just some washi tape there that's got that in. This vellum paper I got from Dandwlion Diaries. And then there's this, and I can move this to other planners, or I could put it on a cork board or whatever I want to do with it down the road. This Let's Read, I think I got this from Dandwlion Diaries as well, and it's just a little tracker of what you're reading so far this year. These are 5-star books, 4-star books, and 3-star books. If it's less than 3 stars, I'm not going to finish it, so it wouldn't make it to the bookshelf. Yeah, that's what's happening there. You've seen a lot of this. If this is your first time looking at this Hobonichi and you want to look at how it started, you can go back a couple of videos and find that easily. But I am really enjoying this system. These little guys I made, they're that polymer clay. And so I made a bunch of beads and then put my own beads on my, my charms. My little marker ribbons. So that's how he's going, and I'm super happy in love. And next up is, now this is the guy that I've shown you guys a million times. This is my Traveler's Passport size pocket brain. He has been featured on this channel a million times over and will continue to be, because it's definitely, without a doubt, the thing that I'm in. I'm in that Hobonichi every day, but I guess I'm not only in him every day, I'm in him multiple times every day. I do work on him in the mornings, and he stays with me in the studio while I'm teaching classes. He's just out and about. And, oh, looks like I got a little sticker stuck on some. Let's put some tape on that. So let's take a look at what's happening with him. And here we go. So this is a notebook from that Just G paper company that I just added. And of course I put my own cover on it. So I just needed that glitter. And look, what I wanted was that glitter to kind of kick out from the edge like that and just show me some sparkle every day. So that's why I put it over on this side. And inside of this little handmade notebook are just these really pretty pages. There's black and gray and just lots of different materials. Love me well or leave me be. That's the vibe for 2025. So lots of different materials in here. Look at this really pretty rice paper, or whatever they call that. And this black paper is fun. What I've been using on that are jelly roll pens. Let's see, I've got one over here. This is the jelly roll. And these have a tendency to be kind of almost highlighter style. So I've got this like highlighter pink and teal and a bunch of different colors. White obviously works on this. So that's what I'm using to write on those dark pages. Like there it is in that kind of purple. So I've really had fun with this little guy. And this is just a collection of pretty things. There's nothing else happening here. This is not my brain dump in this little notebook. It's just me putting pretty things in quotes that make me happy. And you can see I kind of just started him. I haven't worked with him a whole lot yet. He just came in here. So that's what's happening there. And then this one is the Forever Going On brain dump. And it is this dot grid paper, and I just do checklists in here. To-dos, 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 to-dos. Sometimes I write down quotes, things that are supporting me emotionally, supporting my emotional wellness. I meet with a ladies group on Thursdays, and sometimes maybe our opening prayer will have a line that I jot down in here or something like that. I tend to keep this with me in those meetings, so it can be fun to just kind of look back at what some of that stuff is. And he is almost finished up for this one, and I'll just add another to him. But yeah, Tuesday errands to do, Thursday to do, Monday to do, and then it's just blank dot grid. And so I just keep him as an ongoing kind of brain dump to-do list reminder. And because he goes with me absolutely everywhere also, like sometimes I'll have a little shopping list or something in there. And then this, let's see. Yeah. And then this guy is the monthly, undated monthly, which I love. So I can, if I skip a month, it doesn't matter. And I can just get my overview in. So that's just the overview of that month. And then this one I just added in, which is all things commonplace can journey in this space. And I'm going to start a more traditional commonplace journal theme in here. Remember I was telling you guys that craft paper that I had ordered those books, and I don't know why, but it shut me down, like writing on it, writing quotes on it. I didn't love it. So I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll use it for commonplace journaling, because then I can put cutouts from magazines and fabric scraps and paint chips and whatever is speaking to me in here. So this one's going to be literally just a collection of collected things, whereas quotes and stuff have a tendency to end up in my kind of brain dump guy, and also in this sort of pretty fun paper guy. So as a whole, I would consider this a commonplace journal. It's got my monthly calendar, it's got to-do lists, but it's also got scraps, bits, tidbits. I'm working on a book journal, a reading journal, but I realized that I actually needed a carry-all kind of version too. And all this is just a list of what I'm reading in 2025. And the reason is because I was at a bookstore in January and we were talking about books, and I realized that the book I was reading at that moment in time, I could not tell them the name of the book or the author, which made me feel, frankly, insane in that moment in time. I felt literally crazy. Like, yeah, I'm reading this great book. What is it? I have no idea. Who wrote it? I don't know. What a weird conversation that was. So I realized that I need to keep with me a constant list of what I'm actually reading right now. So if somebody asks me and my brain goes completely empty, I can say, oh, that's right. House of Sky and Earth is book 2 of Crescent City. Got it. I know I'm reading book 2 of Crescent City, but would I have remembered the name of it? I don't know. So these are all the things I've read so far in 2025, and I'm just keeping that with me as a little, don't forget what you're reading when you're asked about it in public, Andrea. Little book, and I just tucked him back here. My big reading journal is pieced together. The index is done. I do need to do some updates on him. He turned into kind of a monster. He's huge. So we'll do another video on that down the road. This is just a collection of stickers that are specific to reading. And so I'm not quite sure where they'll all go. Some will go in here, and then some will end up in that reading journal. But aren't they fun? And I have duplicates, so like some I might just give somebody one if I run into them and say, oh yeah, you're a reading friend here. And I found this one at the bookshop that's just a list of all of the ACOTAR books, which, like, how can you not have that? You have to have that. So I don't know. Where will I stick them? Maybe nowhere. Maybe they'll just stay right here. And yeah, so this little traveler's passport is bringing me a lot of joy. You know what's funny is I was looking at A House Beautiful yesterday, thinking I was going to snag some material to stick in here. I hated everything in that magazine. I don't know why. That issue was just super hoity-toity, and the houses seemed, gosh, cold and too big. Like, I pictured myself in that kitchen and it felt really hollow and strange. It's not funny. That magazine did not speak to me. So that's okay. Plenty of time to add stuff to it. But yeah, I love the concept of the commonplace journal. And I think if more people saw this kind of thing, when I say I'm a journaler and I teach journaling classes, and then they spotted this setup, I think more people would be interested in journaling. That's what I think. I think the restriction comes when we pigeonhole journaling into a definition of it has to be this thing. And I have to be this introspective, self-aware, conscientious person who's digging into the deepest parts of myself and putting it on paper. And while that is an important and interesting part of journaling, it is not the only story. There's so many great ways to journal, and I feel like if we could get that info out to more people would be journaling. Okay, next up, the art project I mentioned. So this journal, I am sorry to tell you, I have no idea where I got it. It was random online order. Let's see what the band says. This is a diary, caramel latte coffee. Does anybody have any idea what this company is? I have no idea. Isn't that funny? I could look back at my PayPal to see. I have no idea. Anyway, I liked the size of it because it's kind of traveler's notebook length, although a little smaller, but it's also clearly far more narrow. But y'all, I can tell you right now, be warned, the traveler's notebook is probably going to be part of my story eventually. But I just was interested in this size, and of course it had coffee on the cover, so how can I not love that? And this showed up, and around the same time, my friend Paula mentioned to me that she sent me the link to a YouTube video, and which I will link here, and it is by Leslie Stotz, Stotz. I'll have to look it up. Anyway, she's doing a little challenge of sorts that you can join in on. Her YouTube channel is completely free. I did join her Patreon as well, but it is 100 tiny paintings. I think she calls them tiny treasures. And between February 25th of 2025 and February 25th of 2026, you'll do 100, if you can, tiny paintings. And I've mentioned before here, and I do talk about it in my journaling classes that I teach, that small is fun. Because one thing I will say is when we sit down to a giant notebook or we sit down to a giant piece of paper, there is this sort of like pressure, isn't there, of how am I going to fill this space? And if we start with small, no problems. Like my little brain dump, anybody could journal a Dear Diary into this, right? Because it's 2 sentences. Dear Diary, today was awesome, super windy, bad hair day, fun anyway, smiley face, journal entry complete. I just like small as a starting point for a lot of things. I think that in part, I'm one of those people who has this tendency to, I know for a fact, I'm one of these people who has a tendency to go big or go home. So if I say I want to do something to the garage, what I mean is I want to throw away everything we own, hire a company, have shelves installed, redo the flooring, change the ceiling height. You know what I mean? Like, can we just organize the towels? How about, let's just start there. So yeah, I tend to go way too big, way too fast. And that is also what led to a lot of burnout in my life. And so I've learned over these last several years to fight that tendency and to start in small bites. And so small paintings are a good answer for that. I actually started painting last year I've shown you guys this many times, this cheap little sketch pad from who knows what big box art store. And I just started doing feathers just to learn brushwork, right? And kind of figure out what my brushes were doing. This is terrible paper. This is not great watercolor paper. But this practice every day did loosen me up and get me to kind of feel different paints and pen on paint and what happens when I add sketches to it. It was a really fun practice. And so, but small, see, little. And that for me works. If I start small, I do better. A friend of mine made me this sketchbook. Isn't this gorgeous? This is Paula also made this for me. And so what I like about it is the size of the paper that we have going on in here. So small paintings, but look how small we're talking about here. Tiny, like a 2x2, I think she said. Even this has some size to it compared to this, but small, start small. All right. So 100 tiny treasures, 100 tiny paintings. And what I did was just take decent quality or good quality paper. And I just tore it into kind of 2x2-ish strips. Because you know me and my torn edges, that's what I like. And then I tear those into chips and then glue them into the book. So this is not watercolor paper, but there's watercolor paper taped onto it. And I just started taking some notes. 100 tiny treasures, Andrea. Read your own handwriting. Okay, I will. A year of tiny paintings to increase creativity, alleviate anxiety and depression, promote creative thinking and problem solving, and improve memory. If you watch her video on YouTube, that is free, as I said. You don't have to go on Patreon for that. She lists why working artistically in some endeavor every day, the benefits, and these are some of them. Alleviating anxiety and depression, promoting creative thinking and problem solving, improving memory. So pretty cool, right? And so what I decided to do was build up a little bit of a color palette. I wrote down some of the paints that I'm working with. I wrote down my supplies that I needed and went and got those. I'm on a no buy for arts and crafts unless I run out of it or need to replace it. And that was the case with this. I just didn't have any of these things. Hold on, I'm gonna sneeze. Whew. And then I built my palette, my watercolor palette, up in a way I never have before, which is that I did 4 quadrants. And so I did green, red, blue, and browns. I paint my estuaries and my marshes a lot. So there's a lot of browns and oranges and yellows right now because of the time of year. Obviously, there's a lot of green. Reds show up as sort of a backdrop to all the browns. And then, of course, there's the intracoastal and the sky. So there's a lot of blue popping back at me, too. So that's how I set that up. So I just gave myself a little map of that. And I literally put a blob of every single paint that's in every one of these little corners, right? And drew a little map and drew a little key of what they all were. So I can refer back to that. So I guess what I'm saying is my painting this year, because of these 1,000 Tiny Treasures project, is getting a little bit more focused. Yeah. Trying to get a little clearer with myself about what I'm doing and what I'm using and why I'm using it. I'm being less focused on the quality of the painting and more focused on the action of the brushes and the paint and the results that I'm getting by building my paintings from the back forward. I am playing a little bit with perspective in a way that I haven't before, and I think it's paying off. Notice how this is pretty flat, like there's like horizon, trees and trees. You're gonna see as I go through, I'm already starting to find some improvement in that. So that horizon is much further back there, and those trees are a little further back, and these are a lot closer, and this water is right in front of us. I am no trained artist by any means. I've told you before, I've made videos here called Clunky Watercolor with Andrea. But it's fun to make attempts at shifting up what you're doing. And now I'm playing with wet on wet techniques. So again, the quality of the painting isn't as important to me right now. Is just kind of what I'm doing and taking notes about the results I'm getting from that. This is the backdrop of one today, so it'll build up eventually to have trees and plants and etc. in it. But I really like the clouds I got, the sky that I got today with that technique, wet on wet on the arches. That was a decent sky. And then see, look at that sky, which I actually like that sky too. But this one seems a lot more realistic to me. Do you see the movement in the clouds rolling from underneath, which is really how they do function here? So anyway, it's really fun. So 1,000 Tiny Treasures, making notes. Why I'm making notes here already before I've painted is it's just telling me what paper this is. But also this Arches paper has kind of a rough side and a smooth side. So I made it clear when I glued it down which side was up. So I'll have some basis of comparison. So 1,000 Tiny Treasures, I'll link her video in this video. And again, it goes through February of next year. So you have plenty of time to join 100 Tiny Treasures. You have plenty of time to join us. And there also are no rules. You could do 25 Tiny Treasures over the course of the year. But if you're interested in pursuing a little bit of creative action, I think that's a really fun way to do it. And then the other thing that I'll mention is that I've decided to break down some of the projects I want to attempt this year into a seasonal calendar. So I'm going to go back to face-to-face and we'll have that conversation together. But before I do that real quick, while I have the overhead set up, I'll show you this new tarot deck that I got. You guys have seen this one, Guardian of the Night Tarot. And what I did was, this is a Hay House production. I went online and found this artist's website. And MJ Cullinan. Anyway, I went on and found her website to see what else she had, because her artwork in here is just so compelling. I just love her artwork. I also love her descriptions of the cards, her focal points and thoughts, but her actual artwork is just so beautiful to me. So I went to her website and found that she does in fact carry other tarot decks that she produces herself, it seems to me. They aren't Hay House Productions, and you can order them directly from her website, which is what I did. And, oh my gosh, look at him. Is that incredible? So, Guardian of the Night Tarot, I found this at the all elusive and hard to find Barnes and Noble. I say that jokingly because sometimes people who have never worked with tarot cards feel like, you know, you have to go find some spiritual shop somewhere. And when that certainly is a cool place to find them, but they're more accessible than you might even realize. And Barnes and Noble does carry a lot of them. But the one I got from her website came in this gorgeous box that I don't have out here, so oh well. But it's the Luminal Forest, and I am loving this deck. It's a really sort of focused deck. Like, it's not traditional tarot as in like Two of Cups. You know what I mean? It's more specific acts, actions, emotions. These are all the ones that she has. She has a lot of different ones, so I will be slowly adding to my collection for those that are still available. And drawing a card opens a dialogue with yourself where images are not mere decorations, but a story, a reflection of you. Whether you're searching for guidance, a spark of inspiration, or a tranquil moment to breathe, the Liminal Forest offers a myriad of paths, each winding and unique. And that's exactly how I use this. In the morning, I find it a focal point. Sometimes I ask a specific question. Sometimes I'm looking for some specific guidance about something that I have some fear about or concern about. And yeah, it's really been fun. And so the card that I picked today was Courage. I'll hold that where you can actually see it. And we'll read that one together in just a minute. But here's just some of the images from this deck. Perfection, cycles, detachment. See what I mean about the language? These are really specific emotions or acts or periods of time in our life or in our day. And so I have found them really inspiring. This is the only deck I've been pulling from since it arrived maybe a week and a half ago. And I've been doing a reading every morning, and I've been carrying this deck with me. It's just staying in my carry-all with all my journaling items and just going with me. I've really enjoyed it. Now, Guardians of the Night, I really love too. Look at that one. And so I'll continue to pull cards from that often because I do love it. But I just thought I'd show you her images here. Adrift. Isn't he just gorgeous? So beautiful. Look at Dream. I have to look that up. That stag has played a big part of my imagery lately. Look at Eclipse. Just beautiful. Anyway, all right, so let's talk about the craft calendar going seasonally, and we'll do a reading together. Let's go back to face for that. Well, I haven't done a video in such a long time. This has been really fun. I hope you're enjoying everything that I'm providing here. I wanted to mention that one of the things that I was talking about my monthly layout with my Hobonichi, that I have one item at a day. So if I have a doctor's appointment that day, I don't also have a class. If I have a class that day, I don't also have a concert that night or dinner with friends. And I said something about, you know, I'm 53, almost 54, and that's partly why I can make that calendar. What I meant by that is that I am at a place in my life where, based on financial security, excuse me, having a business that has been in business for as long as it has, the security of that space and how it runs, my ability to work more part-time now than I ever have. My point was that that's not going to be available to everybody, and it was not available to me in my 20s, 30s, and 40s, not by a long shot. This is a new chapter in my life, and it is a slower chapter, and it is slower by design. That was very intentional. and I'm loving it, but it's not for everyone. And in my 20s, that kind of schedule probably would have made me insane. I don't think I could have taken that level of chill. But for me now, it's absolutely perfect. So I just wanted to clarify what I meant by why my age has anything to do with how my calendar is laid out. Okay, let's take a look at our tarot cards and our crafting concepts. So one of the things that I battled is that I want to do a lot. I want to sew, I want to weave, I want to knit, I would like to learn to crochet, I want to paint, I want to journal, I want to collage, I want to teach journaling and write journaling workshops, I want to run my business and teach cooking classes, I want to bake and test recipes, I want to get my garden in a different place than it is now. It's been a process over the course of the last 3 or so years, 4 years. There's a lot that I want to do, not have to do. These are things that would be enjoyable to me to be a part of my daily routine. And y'all, there's just not enough time in the day for all of it, is there? And so what happened to me this week was interesting. We landed a few days off accidentally, and my knee-jerk reaction to that was, if you have time off, then you better use it. Like threatening, you better use it, girl. You've been given this time. You better not let it waste away. I don't know. Those are just such old ingrained thought processes for me. But what's different this time is I did catch it. I started to move into it and then stopped and caught what was happening and slowed down. So 1, I had some free time and I felt like I had to fill it. And 2, in the midst of that kind of frenzied thought, we had run up to the studio to grab something, and we were in process of like using this time wisely, and so had started this kind of gardening project that's been on my brain for a long time. We're headed down to Lowe's to pick up a few things that we needed for that, and as we walked out the back studio door, I glanced to my left, and I keep my sewing supplies at the studio because that space is where I was taking sewing lessons last year and the year before. Myself and 2 other women would have an instructor come to the studio and teach us there when my business was closed, in part because it's really bright lighting. And also we have giant 6-foot-long tables up there. And so all my sewing supplies are there. And when I walked out that back door and caught a glimpse of the sewing, it just like, when are you going to sew, Andrea? You know, you wove those materials to make those bags. You have the backing for y'all know, you're crafters too. You know how this goes. This pressure just hit. And I messaged my sister about it actually and was like, she's like, how are you doing? And I said, I'm actually fine, except I had this weird thing. So one of the things that she mentioned was, what about leaving the sewing and the knitting? Or she asked me, she was like, is there a timeline? Like, why are you feeling pressure? Is there a timeline? I said, actually, there is. Our window for working in this yard is limited. People think that because you live in Florida, sunshine year round, you get to work outside year round. Maybe some people do. Maybe transplants from much colder climates can handle it. For me, we shut down the outside mid-June and we don't step outside again voluntarily until the 1st of October. Now, that's a bit of an exaggeration. Obviously, I still get all my walks in, I get my nature time in, but the truth is that the temperatures are so unpleasant late June, all of July, all of August, and actually most of September, that things like working out in the yard are not pleasant. You can go for walks, you can get down to the Intracoastal and catch a breeze. People ask, what about early morning? Let me tell you something. The humidity is worse before 12 noon than it is at 12 noon. So the temperature might be cooler. It might only be 85 at 8 o'clock in the morning, but it's 100% humidity. It's 96 by noon, but the humidity's dropped down to 80% or 70%. Either way, it's brutal. So there is a time frame. I have this little window of spring that we've got to get this gardening done, because once that time hits, all these projects go on the back burner until next winter. So she said, well, why don't you just do that then? Just make this the gardening time and put the knitting aside and the sewing aside until July. And I thought, we're onto something here. I like this. So what I'm going to work on is plotting out kind of a quarterly crafting concept. And I'm giving myself January and February to do whatever you want to do, which includes sleep or nothing. Those are great options in January and February. If you want to get some other stuff done, get it done. March, April, May, that's the time to be in the yard. If we want to do big projects like we're doing right now with just adding in some pavers and some bricking and moving plants and things like that, that needs to happen now. I think that June is kind of a flux month, early June into late June. You can still kind of do some outdoor stuff. You just have to see how it goes. I'm calling July, August, and September my sewing, knitting, and weaving months. Those are the months where you shut the blinds, crank the AC, and hide inside, and they will be perfect projects for that time of year. This year, as we talked about in some previous videos, I'm really changing the way that I prepare for the holiday season this year, and October is going to be full on. I'll be doing a lot of gifting, gift shopping and wrapping in October. I'll be preparing the advent calendars that we gift in October. So this is a very kind of get ready for Christmas month in October. And I will be doing all of my holiday baking at the end of October and early November this year with the intention of shipping out and gifting those things out starting the beginning of December. I've already started testing some recipes that the doughs freeze really well. So I can make all the doughs in October and then slice and bake in December to give out fresh cookies. I'm thinking, but I like this quarterly concept for crafting. Let me know what you think about that. And are you doing something similar, or have you already been in that process? I'll be really curious to hear what you think. I didn't mention in my crafting, my painting, because I make time for painting every single morning, and it's the only time that I do it. Anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour first thing in the morning. And the last thing that I'll say about time to craft, and I figured this out a long time ago, and I've shared this here, create before I consume. When I get up, my feet hit the floor, I grab coffee, and I come back here and I start to paint, or whatever that create is. I don't look at any emails or any screens. If I pick up a screen at that point in time, I will lose that first hour. It will drift away from me very quickly. So I create before I consume. I just get a much longer play out of that same time frame. That 30 minutes or 1 hour, man, can I get a lot in there when I'm not allowing the distraction of screen time. And yeah, so I always get my painting in some way early. So that's year round. I don't have to worry about that. But some of those bigger other crafts, I think I just have to accept that there is a time and a season for everything. Okay, Luminal Forest, Oracle, and Guidebook. And the card that I picked today was Courage. And I think that's really timely for me. I'll be curious to know if it is for you as well. So first, let's just look at Courage together. There's a lot of animals represented in this card. There's the silhouette of the big aggressive bear coming over in the background, right? And then in the foreground, we have a little red fox. We also have this bear, and he's got foxtails drifting out around him. I'm not quite sure the symbolism of that, so I'm going to look that up. And then this owl up in the background as well. So I'm going to look up the bear in animal speak. I'm also going to look up foxes. And isn't there an Asian folk story about the fox with 5 tails or something like that? I'll look that up and see. But for now, let's read her story of courage. And the reason this one was kind of apropos for me is that I've come through a lot of fear in the last few years of my life. I realized that a lot of my burnout came from workaholism. The workaholism came from fear, that I wasn't worthy, that I wasn't valuable enough, that my business was going to fail, and that would somehow reflect on me being a failure as a human being. And so much of my action, way over action, was anchored in fear. And coming to terms with that has been really challenging, and also really forced me to recognize how often I either do or do not do things based on fear. And it's a big driving force for me. I added the journaling workshops to my calendar this year, and I'll tell you why. Well, one, because I wanted to. I thought it would be a lot of fun, and I want to share that space. And the women that have been coming to the journaling workshops, we are really having a good time. But when I first thought about the concept of adding journaling classes to my studio schedule, the overwhelming sensation that I got on my body at that moment was fear. It terrified me. And when I came back here to start typing up an outline of what that might look like, I was literally shaking. And I said, then you got to do it. Because what I have learned about fear is that when it's why if I'm afraid of the results, right, without the action, then I need to pause. You won't be good enough if you don't do this. You get where I'm going? But if I'm just afraid of exposing myself as being excited about something or interested in something, I got to keep going. I got to keep going. And by the way, what was the fear? I was afraid people would laugh at me. I was afraid that the community would laugh at me if I put journaling workshops out there. I was afraid that my staff would laugh at me and think that I'd gone woo-woo on them. I mean it. That's really, when I got down to the base definition of it, it's really what I was afraid of, being laughed at. Are you laughing at me right now? You might be. Courage. There are moments in life when we feel utterly defeated, unworthy, and so terrified of failure that we lose sight of our inherent potential and rights. This sense of being undeserving can be so overwhelming that it closes our eyes to the fact that our goals and dreams are always within our grasp. It's crucial to remember that these feelings of doubt and fear are temporary obstacles, not permanent barriers. By acknowledging our worth and overcoming these fears, we can see what we're striving for and that it's been attainable all along, waiting for us to claim it with confidence and determination. Doubt and fear serve their purpose as they test our resilience and determination. Yet it is essential to recognize that these feelings, however daunting, are merely shadows crossing our path. Our courage guides us through the darkness, illuminating the way to our aspirations. With unwavering confidence and steadfast determination, we have the power to embrace the challenges that lie ahead. For it is in overcoming them that we truly find ourselves and realize that our dreams were never beyond our grasp, but rather waiting patiently for us to seize them with open hearts and minds. Courage. I know so many women who are so brave and don't even realize that they are. I think that that is something that women are. I think that's a kind of a curse of being a woman. We are brave in so many ways and not really given full credit for it, and also don't give ourselves full credit for it. You know, a lot of women will say that they've come through something hard. Like, what else was I going to do? Not come through it. Not come through it gracefully, not come through it well. We need to stand together and give each other credit for all of the things that we survive and the way that we thrive and the things that we offer to our families and communities and to ourselves. And I am on the list of people who needs to be more conscientious about that too. But my tip on fear is, if you feel it, try to define it. What specifically? I don't care how embarrassing or small it might be. What are you afraid of? Because in the end, what I was afraid of with journaling classes was being laughed at. That is the truth. If I got really honest and down to it, I was afraid someone would laugh at me. And maybe they are, and that's fine too. But I got clear about the fear, and the fact that I felt that fear about something like that told me that I needed to do it. Just do it, put it out there. And I'm so thrilled that I have, because it's been really enjoyable. I think I covered everything I said that I would. I'm going to add links to some things in the description box. I load this content and then I come back and edit it and load in links because I do everything off my phone. It's the only way for me to do it. So give it a second once this goes up, and within a few minutes, all the links should be in there. If you think you're going to join us for 100 Tiny Treasures, either message me or put a comment and let me know that. I would love to know if you decide to get involved in that. And that's all I have. I hope you guys have a wonderful March and enjoy this strange spring weather that we're having all over this country. Take care of yourselves, and let's bound through those fears. Give ourselves credit for what we've achieved so far, and have a glorious day.